over Egypt and parts of Nubia, including the great Temple of Karnak and her mortuary temple at the site of Deir al-Bari. She also sponsored large trade expeditions to faraway countries, the most well-known being one sent to the land of Punt for the acquisition of myrrh, ivory, and gold. By nearly all accounts, Egypt during Hatshepsut's rule was a very prosperous country. However, her apparent lack of attention to military matters has led to many of Egypt's vassals, including its client kings in Canaan, to gradually obtain more autonomy for themselves. In the far corners of the empire, around the Syrian frontier, resentment towards Egypt had been growing amongst the rulers of several of its client states, who saw no reason why they should be forced to swear allegiance and pay tribute to the pharaoh in a faraway land. It's also likely that many of them had been persuaded into becoming allies of the rising northern Mesopotamian power known as the Kingdom of the Mitanni, that at the time had been expanding westward towards the Mediterranean, and also sought to control northern Canaan. Upon the death of Hatshepsut in January of 1458 BC, Thutmose III immediately assumed his position as the sole ruler of Egypt. Believing that the new, young, and untested pharaoh would be weak, the king of the city of Kadesh led a coalition of Canaanite kings to revolt against their Egyptian overlords. To make matters even worse, he had also gathered together his allies and assembled a large army at the fortress city of Megiddo, seemingly with the intention of moving further south and closer to Egypt. Megiddo was important because it controlled Egypt's access to the main trade route between Egypt, Anatolia, and Mesopotamia, now known as the Via Maris. The exact size of the Canaanite army that the king of Kadesh had organized isn't known, but it's estimated to have numbered at least 10 to 15,000 men. The bulk of the forces consisted of infantry, armed with spears, short swords, and axes. But there would also have been archers and perhaps as many as 1,000 chariot units amongst them. They were not just fighting men from Canaan, but also from northern Syria, Mesopotamia, and southern Anatolia. Though Thutmose III had gained some military experience commanding the armed forces during Hatshepsut's reign, he had not been tested in such a dangerous and volatile situation. But he welcomed the opportunity to prove himself as the protector of Egypt. During what was probably the spring of 1457 BC, he assembled a large army at the fortress of Sile in the eastern delta along the Egyptian border. Though estimates vary, most scholars put the number of soldiers at between 10 to 20,000 men. Most of these would have been infantry, armed with swords, axes, and carrying shields. There were also chariot units that would have been manned by nobles with archers. Though the specific number of chariots isn't given, it's estimated to have been anywhere from 1 to 2,000 units. Traveling with the army was Thutmose's personal scribe, Janeni, who would keep a journal of events during the actual campaign. Janeni's journal of this and other campaigns would later be the basis of the detailed annals of Thutmose III that were inscribed on the walls of the Temple of Ammon at Karnak. It's these, along with other supplementary inscriptions found on various stelae, that have helped scholars to piece together the events of the Battle of Megiddo and other military campaigns during the reign of Thutmose III. From Sile, the Egyptian army quickly marched to Gaza, covering 240 kilometers in just 10 days. Given the size of the army, and the logistical challenges of transporting so many men, horses, food, and supplies, this was extremely impressive. From there, they marched another 10 days to the town of Yehem, where they rested and waited for reports from scouts for any new and useful information that would aid them in the battle to come. Thutmose was presented with 3 possible options for advancing towards Megiddo. One was through a curvy northern route that led to a plain several kilometers north of the city. Another was a windy route through the valley of Dothan that ended up southeast of Megiddo near the town of Tanaj. Though longer, both of these routes were considered to have been safer because they gave a large army more room to maneuver. Finally, there was the third and most direct route, through the central pass of Aruna, also known as the Musmus Pass, that led to a plain in front of Megiddo itself. The danger here, though, was that the pass was rather narrow, and his soldiers would be more susceptible to an ambush. Thutmose met with his council of war, most of whom suggested that they take either the northern or southern route, but not the direct and more dangerous one. According to inscriptions on the walls of the Temple of Ammon at Karnak, his military advisors told him the following: "How will it be to go on this road which becomes narrow, when it is reported that the enemies are waiting out there, and they are numerous? Will not horse go behind horse, and soldiers and people too? Will our vanguard be fighting, while our rear guard is waiting here in Aruna and unable to fight?" They then pleaded with him not to take this more difficult and dangerous route. Thutmose rejected their recommendation, telling his council, "I shall proceed on this Aruna road." The reason for this wasn't because he didn't respect the advice of his advisors, or was himself reckless, but Thutmose believed that the king of Kadesh and his Canaanite allies would come to the same conclusion as his war council, and expect the Egyptians to take either the northern or southern passes.
At Domino's, we took all the best things about pizza and put them on our new loaded tots. Melty cheese.
Alright, so boom. I was, my bad if this shit's loud. But really, I was breaking down Euphrates. So I was scrolling through hoping you were reading this. Because I know you guys can read. It's just a little bird told me 1457. So when I was watching that video, I really turned it off because I thought it was for a video game. But I went back to it. And then I heard Euphrates River, right? So it was something, I can't remember what was going on from that. But crazy thing about breaking down this word from the syllables, you start seeing a lot that's going on right now. Like, outside is kind of toxic. For real, that's really what my throat looks like. It's feeling like cane. But yeah, I don't know if you've been reading this, but I'm about to move on to the next one. Really, it's best for me to make videos when I'm like peeping some shit, like going along with it. Cause it really be self-communicate to you. Like a ping. Don't it look like the sun? Alright, so TE means you. A common Latin phrase used in hymns and prayers is whatever that says, which means we praise thee, O God. We also use the word te to talk about an element of philosophical taoism. Te refers to the parts of a person's soul that is harmony with the Tao, which is like the chi, or however you want to say it. Different words, different phrases for symbolism, representing the same shit. TE Connectivity is an American Swiss domiciled technology company that designs and manufactures connectors and sensors for several industries, such as automotive, industrial equipment, data communication, systems, aerospace, defense, medical, oil and gas, consumer electronics and energy. TE connectivity, LTD. And that's tied down to the 5G and the 6G. A tenancy by the entirety permits spouses to jointly own property as a single legal entity. This means that each spouse has an equal and undivided interest in the property. Is that dealing with the straw man? Yeah, somehow, I'm pretty sure they had to put it together. This ties to like straw man. I feel like somebody wanted to see that, but I don't think that's going what I was trying to do. Okay, and also or untranslatable after each item on the list in quotations, upside down triangle, combined with Kai. Sounds like Kai, untranslatable. Hold on. Okay, but you see this upside down triangle, right? That block, the two blocking. So this means UV, ultraviolet, but they call it delta, right? The light, the UV index gets stronger as the gamma gets stronger from the binary systems A, B, right? Thing about it is about 6 binary systems all coming together, right? But that makes the that makes alright, so say 6 binary systems, that's 2 times right? So that means that's 12 stars that comes together around the one star, like the a horoscope circle. But the thing about it, for the ones that don't have binary stars systems, they become trinary star systems. So that's when it comes right back to the number 9, because it's going to make oh shit. Oh, hold on. Let me think on that for a second. Because I already said this, but it's kind of new.